Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic. As a 20 to 30-year-old, you are offered the chance to live rent-free in a retirement or nursing home with the caveat that you must make an effort to spend at least a few hours /day with the other residents, sharing meals, hanging out, etc. Would you take this opportunity and why or why not? I actually did this in my mid-20s. I was a chef by trade at the time. I got the head chef gig at a community, but it was 2 hours from home. They told me there was one open in my town, but it didn't work out that way. It was great money and I was newly married. To sweeten the deal and not lose me, they offered me a furnished room in the building and it was only Monday through Thursday. Some of the best times of my 20s were had there. We bowling every night, big dinners, movie nights, the whole 9 yards. I enjoyed it immensely and was almost sad when the opening became available in my hometown. Wholesome as fuck, dude. Fuck yeah, that's like a tall glass of cold milk kind of wholesome. You could think of the few hours per day as a really easy part-time job that pays for your housing. Eating dinner with them would be great. It would count as time spent with them and you wouldn't have to prepare food. I'd try to get them into playing video games, that would be awesome. Fun fact, the Nintendo Wii was very popular in nursing homes as it allowed seniors access to low-impact exercise. Many of these facilities saw general increases in sleep quality, appetite, general health and was a great way for them to socialize. As long as I was in a section with mentally sound people. Being around people battling dementia and Alzheimer's would be too much for me to deal with. I don't think this kind of scheme would make any sense in a place with a lot of people with dementia anyway. But I imagine elderly people who are frail but still mentally there would be happy with the company. I agree. Many people with dementia and Alzheimer's can be very aggressive. It's a fairly natural reaction to waking up every day and not knowing where you are, who you are, and who all of the people around you are. The functional-minded, frail people would definitely benefit from it. Edit, I would like to add due to some comments. Absolutely not all Alzheimer's patients are aggressive, or aggressive all of the time. I personally don't have the fortitude to care for people with Alzheimer's on a daily basis. I have lost 2 family members to it, and I know how difficult and heartbreaking it can be to deal with. I did it for them, I could not do it again, unless it was family. The Netherlands has this exact scheme for students. I would absolutely do this while in grad school. Sometimes just talking to another human about absolutely anything other than school would be amazing. Plus, as a grad student, when you have a chance to explain your work or research to someone else you have an opportunity to see holes in it that you might not have noticed with your own tunnel vision. Additional bonus if you are a business student and can ask around the place when you have a business idea to see if it would work or be needed. Reality is that the retiring population is the largest demographic and therefore your largest potential customer base. This is part of my inspiration. That is an amazing idea. I wonder if it's a thing in the UK. Hadn't heard of it, but it seems like an obviously good idea in the absence of abolishing rent/tuition fees. No. I basically did this twice in my 2020s. I became a servant to the entire building. Change a light bulb. Run an errand. Fix the computer. Loneliness wasn't the issue for a whole team of seniors living in the same building. Accomplishing tasks they weren't physically able to do anymore was their issue. Now, the opportunity to live free in a house with 1 to 2 seniors to be their helper and companion, I'd do that, but never a whole building. Second example. A family doctor moved to my area where there is a notable housing shortage for rentals, generally rural area. There is one seniors apartment building that is very nice and not full. Special exception was made for the doctor to have an apartment until she decided to stay as long as she would do on-call medical for the building. She lasted 2 weeks. Said people were banging on her door at all hours, coming home to angry notes that she wasn't home, at work at her medical practice. Lol, never let patients know where you live. Just leads to problems. She should have known tbh. On call for a building of elderly folks, yikes. Prob didn't have an immediate option or something. You might be into the concept of home sharing. Check it out sometime because it is exactly what you describe in terms of 1 to 2 seniors in a single home. No, I wouldn't. My job can be fairly demanding, and I like my free time for working on my hobbies or relaxing. I'm a bit of an introvert, and I honestly don't have much in common with the elderly. Not to mention, a room in a nursing home isn't the sort of place I want to live either, regardless of whether or not it's free. Not only is my lifestyle not exactly compatible with the setting, but I'm afraid it might bother the other residents. I got nothing against old people, I just don't want to live in a community of nothing but old people. Not to mention, a room in a nursing home isn't the sort of place I want to live either, regardless of whether or not it's free. Yeah, hospitals and nursing homes all seem to go for the same depressing, impersonal decor. Very beige, white and sometimes teal. I'm sure a lot of that is for practical reasons, but I wonder how much is just because that's what a hospital setting is supposed to look like. You'd think in a nursing home, where people are expected to live long term, things could look a bit less clinical. That entirely depends on the place. I've been to homes where they decorate for each resident. I've also been to homes where people are there for a very short time before they die and they have a plain standard style. Love the people saying they can. Guess you have never been in a nursing home. All the death and sickness always around. The poor people with dementia or Alzheimer's and the behaviors that come with it. Not a chance would anyone want to live that long there by their choice. I'm actually surprised that you're the first person to bring this up. While I think there are a ton of great reasons to build intergenerational communities, these are facts that should be considered. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, this is very dependent on the home. The place my nana was at had 3 levels of care. The first was assisted living, they have like an apartment with people on hand to help if needed. Then they have another building when you need daily care and someone to cook for you, bathe you but are still all there mentally. They also had a third type of accommodation somewhere else for people with dementia. Another place we looked at for her had 2 blocks, one for people with dementia, the other without, so I know this place wasn't a one-off. Not all retirement homes are death and gloom, many residents actually find they are happier as they have a lot more social contact. My grandmother lived in a nursing home for the last year of her life, and as much as I enjoyed visiting her, I always felt a sense of relief when I walked out of that place. It was actually a pretty nice as nursing homes go, new, clean, well lit, with daily activities and decent meals, but there was this sense of oppressive sadness that I could never shake off. I felt the same way whenever I visited my dad. Sure, the facility was well run, clean, and they had activities all the time. But the aura of sadness was really hard for me to deal with. I have felt the same thing whenever I've visited nursing homes. I wonder though, if having other, younger people living in the same space would change that. Bring in some liveliness, etc. Homes are full of old ladies who have decades of experience with crafts, so live in knitting support. Hell yes. You'd have to have the windows open all the time to keep the care home smell at bay though. Same here. It'd be fun to have a craft circle with them and listen to the gossip while learning something new. I wonder if they have cliques like high school. ITT, people who don't know what life in a retirement home is like. Depends on if you differentiate between a retirement home and a nursing home. My dialect does. Retirement homes are basically just assisted living, plenty bearable, while nursing homes are the not so great places people go basically to die. Hospice palliative care. Nursing home assisted living. Retirement home age restricted community with some elective services. What's a few? If we assume that's 3 hours a day, every day, that's about 90 hours a month. Rent for a 1-bedroom where I am is about 1 Kelvin / month. Rounding, $11 an hour, less than minimum wage. Not to mention that nursing home rooms are often vastly smaller than even a studio apartment and often don't have kitchens. May or may not allow pets. Probably not. Good thinking. The details of such an arrangement would need to be worked out to be valuable to both the person living there and the home taking a room offline that could be otherwise generating cash. The value proposition needs to be worked on. No. I'm trying to have a dating life here. Just think of all the single ladies there though. Widowed ladies. Sounds like a win-win. You get a place to stay, and you get the warmth and love of old people. As a nursing student that just finished my long-term care, nursing home, clinical, I would absolutely do this. I cannot tell you how much attention they would love and desperately need to have, physical and psychological. And it's not even things of medical substance, per selenium. It's things like helping them eat, giving them a warm blanket, asking them questions about themselves and their life, asking them about the music they enjoy or the concerts they went to, because they always tend to remember the music, making sure they don't fall if they can ambulate to the restroom, brushing their hair, helping them put on their shoes, genuinely looking out for them and encouraging them to go to activities, and then some of the more caretaker stuff like getting them dressed. Putting on their briefs and changing them is something everyone could learn. Obviously I'm classifying this as more in the medical/caretaker category because this requires training to lift, move the patient if they are unable to, roll the pad under them, and change the sheets all in one efficient and safe swoop, which I was taught how to do. Not to mention, keeping their bed lowered to reduce risk of falls, etc. These are things everyday people can help them with. It was so incredibly rewarding to be a student in a long-term care facility, but I genuinely fear for the residents after the care of the students has come to an end. It traumatized me emotionally, and I now realize what it is actually like. I was prepared for the worst, and I had already played out the horror stories I had previously heard, but it did not prepare me. It hit me like a ton of bricks after each long day, and I found myself crying a little on the ride home, because the residents deserved so much better. They are absolutely wonderful people, and I don't know how some of them stay so chipper despite their conditions and mental deterioration. Some are very aware of everything going on and question things down to the ratio of nurses to patients in my state. Some of them have had extreme tragedy in their lives, and have a smile every day. Sorry for the rant, I just think the idea of younger folks helping older ones in return for a place to stay is such a damn good idea. I did a volunteer year with super high workload and basically no pay, but still enjoyed it because of the chats and stories I got to hear. This would be all positives and no negatives. The one negative I can think of is that it may make it more difficult to bring a woman home. Hey baby, let's go back to my room in the retirement community. The biggest negatives I'd see is that you'd see a lot of death in a short period of time. And depending on if it's a nursing home that cares for people with dementia, there's also the depressive aspect of getting to see people lose their identity. They would all view you as their grandkid. They'd probably give pretty good life advice too. Maybe even squeeze into some wills if you are charismatic enough,